Alright, our first steelhead fly, we're going to do a polar shrimp. Pretty much all steelhead flies are constructed the same way, they're just used different colors, sometimes different materials, but your classic herring steelhead pattern pretty much uses all the same materials, just different colors. So we got a TMC 7999. You can also use a Gamakatsu T106H, and this is a size 4. And you can notice the difference already with this loop eye. The eye doesn't stop right at the end, but it actually extends a little further back, and that's just for strength. So I'm going to start my thread and move it back to the rear of the hook, giving myself that thread base. And for the tail, I'm going to use, this is shrimp pink schlappen. I'm just going to pull off a long fiber here. For my tail, I'm just going to use a bunch of these fibers, so I'm just going to pull them all off at the same time. Time in. You want the tail to be about half the length of the body. Maybe a little longer than that. I'm going to tie them all in. Now what you can do is if you want your tail a little thicker, you can do this in steps. So now I can pick off another clump and even it up with the other ones and tie it in again. So if you want a nice thick tail, that's one of the ways you can do it. That way you don't have to try to grab all those fibers at once. Alright, so make sure everything's nice and tied down. I'm going to grab some shrimp pink chenille. This is size medium. Just like the woolly bugger, I'm going to strip off to the core and I'm going to tie it in and move my thread to just behind the eye here. Now this fly doesn't have a rib. You could certainly add a rib. Now you can just wrap your chenille up to where your thread is and tie it off. Okay. Now it's time to add our collar hackle. I'm going to take another piece of schlappen here. I'm going to kind of size it up. These get really big towards the base. You can see it extends clear into the tail. That's not how long I want it. I want it to stop to about where the bend of the hook starts. So that's about right there. So I'm going to take all this long stuff. I'm just going to strip it off. You could also use that for the tail if you wanted to use a single feather. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to stroke all these fibers back from the tip. And I'm going to tie it in tip first. So I'm going to flip it around and tie it in at the tip. And what this will do is it allow all these fibers to sweep backwards. So now that I've got my feather here, I'm going to just take the edge of one side of my scissors and run it down the top, and this will kink all those feathers. You can see how it kinks in towards the back of the hook. They're not standing straight up anymore. I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to sweep it all back with my fingers. I'm going to hold them back and make a wrap and keep pulling them back. After each rep, I'm stroking them backwards. Until I get the color I want. And then I'm going to tie it off. Clip the stem there. Bring them all back and then make a few wraps here. So it's all swooping back. Now my wing is, you can use calf tail. I like to use Arctic fox, so I'm going to take my fox tail, just clip off a hunk of fur, and grab it by the tips and just pull out all this under fluff. Okay, so I've got most of the guard hairs here. I'm actually going to grab just the very tips and get rid of all these little guys. Okay, now I'm just going to lay it on the top of the hook and have my wing stop at the bend of the hook there. Transfer fingers. Make some nice tight wraps. And give it a little yank to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. It's another reason I like using the fox instead of the calf tail. The calf tail is really slippery, and you can see this bites really well into the thread. And pull it all up. Trim it as close as you can. Nope, I got my thread a little bit too, so I can probably save that. And wrap it all down. And once you're done there, you can whip finish. I like to kind of take this and roll out my fingers a little bit to get everything swooped back. There's your completed polar shrimp, just in time to go steelheading.